Hello and welcome to Zero Pucks Given, the UK Ice Hockey Podcast. We are in partnership with the Hockey Art Co, hockey clothing for hockey people, worn by the best and hated by the rest. Listeners to Zero Pucks Given get a 10% discount on everything site-wide at hockeyartclothing.co.uk. Just enter the code ZP10 upon checkout to get your discount. This is episode 68. I'm Ben. Welcome along and Happy New Year. We've got the match reports from an exciting week in the Britton division, the exclusive coaches' thoughts, and the player of the week. Also in the news, some movers and shakers in the Britton division rosters. Josh Abbott has departed the Oxford City Stars and returned to the Guildford Phoenix in the Wilkinson. And also Tommy Huggett has announced as departing Invicta Dynamos, and shortly after was announced as signing for Chelmsford Chieftains. A really good signing for the Chieftains there to bolster their attacking lines, as they have been the sufferers of suspensions, as we say, in the first part of the season. We will also have our very quick catch-up with Erin this week, who has been spearheading the Adams Angels sort of charity thing to get every single club in the country a catastrophic bleed kit and other sort of first aid things that they may need should that unfortunate occasion ever happen again. So we'll be catching up with Erin very shortly. To the start of 2024 saw a very rare occurrence in the Britton division, a mid-week game. And considering the start to the year is normally bogged down with illness, holidays and other commitments, a good crowd was in the hangar to see two full rosters as the Solent Devils snuck a road win out of the Slough Jets, as Steve Osman started 2024 with a bang, scoring 4 goals and assisting the other that Liam Coleman got. Goals from Spittle, Holliker and Minter were not enough for the home side as the Devils took a 5-3 win at the hangar. Right then, into the action from the weekend. 6 matches in total, with all but one of the division's teams involved, and we will start on the Saturday, as always, with the early face-off down at Planet Ice in Gosport. The Thunder rolled onto the south coast, missing a few but determined to provide a stern obstacle for the Devils. As is usually the case for Solent, as they are so good at home, they took an early lead when Oscar Evans scored on 2:47 for 1-0, assisted by Necrosavicius. Both teams exchanged penalties in the first period, but it remained 1-0. Into the second, and the visitors bit back early when Josh Hickman assisted Mark Austin on 22:03 to make it 1-1. The game continued to be cagey until the home side retook the lead when Scott Cooper assisted Mason Wild on 32:47. Just after the restart, Thunder took a penalty when Barrow sat for 2 on 33:11, and in the resulting power play, Alex Murray extended the lead to 3-1, assisted by Coleman and Steve Osman with his 700th career point on 33:52. The Devils would start the third on the penalty kill after Coleman took a slashing penalty on 39:38, and after the Devils killed the penalty off, they had a power play chance themselves when Coney sat for high sticks on 46:09. Both sides took penalties on 47:56, with Hutchinson and Howe sat for roughing and cross-checking respectively. After the Thunder returned to full strength, the Devils pushed further ahead when Osman and Lackey assisted Alex Murray for his second for 4-1 on 48:57. A man of the match for Dan Norton for the Thunder, facing 70 attempts, and Steve Osman continues his second consecutive man of the match as the Devils make it 4 points from 4 so far this week before heading down to Invicta on Sunday. On Saturday, Invicta headed up the M40 to Oxford and found the Stars in sparkling form at the start of 2024. It took just 14 seconds for the hosts to take the lead when Dylan Hullaby assisted Bailey Hine-Pitcher for 1-0. On 6:10, Stevenson took 2 for roughing, and in the resulting power play, it was the Stars who scored when Hullaby went unassisted on 7:47 to make it 2-0, short-handed goal. Just over a minute later, the Dynamos pulled themselves back into the game when Tom Saw scored on 9:01, assisted by Laschek and Springer Hughes. Chances at either end saw both goalies coming out on top, but on 17:13 it was a tied game when Tom Saw netted his second, assisted by Laschek and Bell for 2-2. Into the second, and the turnaround was completed when James Laming scored for 3-2 on 23:49, assisted by Thune and Bronyman pouncing on a defensive error. The Dynamos then scored again, but it was ruled out. The Stars then made it a level game when Travis Penny scored, assisted by Williams for 3-3 on 26:15. Shortly after the restart, the visitors retook the lead when Ruskin Springer Hughes went unassisted to make it 4-3 to the Dynamos on 27:27. The Stars were creating their own problems in the D zone, leading to the Dynamos extending their lead when Brandon Chard, assisted by Lillis and Harris, made it 5-3 on 32:16. On 36:46, the Stars made a one-goal game when Hind Pitcher assisted Hullaby for his second to make it 5-4. Into the third, a miraculous work by Owen Ryder kept the visitors in the lead before they extended it again when Dan Scott scored, assisted by Broddyman on 47:57 for 6-4. Shortly after the restarts, the Stars fired back through Ben Neversell, assisted by Harris for 6-5. But on 51:08, Broddyman took two for slashing, and in the resulting power play, an error from Miller in the Stars' net allowed Invicta to grab a short-handed goal through Stano Laschek, assists to Springer Hughes and O'Neill. The Dynamos made it 7-5 on 51:30 with a short-handed goal. Despite some power play attempts in a short period with an empty net, it finished 7-5. A much improved performance from the Stars, but the strengths of the visitors shone through in the end. After the game, Carl Catlin caught up with the Stars head coach, Shannon Taylor.
Game reaction with Oxford City Stars coach Shannon Taylor. Shannon, tough result really, but a much improved performance over the 60 minutes.
Yeah, it's always frustrating when you come away with a loss, naturally, but we've had a very tough 2023. I asked the guys to work their bag off, to do everything that I asked of them. And what was really nice is that we can start to see the style and the systems that I'm trying to input come into fruition. So, yeah, very disappointed with the result, naturally, but I'm really enthused by the level of performance. It was a much more competitive game from our side. So, yeah, lots and lots of positives.
Yeah, the shots on goal reflected what you've just said there, Coach. 47 for the visitors, 43 for ourselves. After the first period, 2-2 on the board. What was the difference in the second, did you think, from Invicta?
No, I think it was just, we took the foot off the gas, I think, for the opening 5 minutes of the second period, which was a little bit disappointing. We then spent the next 5 minutes trying to recover from that and just understand where we were kind of misplacing the passes and doing some silly things. And then the last 10 minutes of the second period, we were back to our best. So, it was a shame. We took 5 minutes off, which is disappointing, but overall, the performance was really, really strong. We were able to recover that. We didn't let our heads drop after a couple of silly errors. So, all in all, there's huge amounts of positives to take from the performance.
Cool. Player of the game, Dylan Hullaby, a very solid performance from the import.
Yeah, it was nice to see. And, Dylan fully deserved his man of the match. The nice thing is I could have given that to any number of guys today. There were probably 5, 6, maybe even more players that deserved the man of the match nod. So, yeah, I think it's nice to see him get a bit of personal recognition. He had a great game, scored a very nice goal from a horrible angle. So, yeah, lots of things to look up for.
The final game of Saturday night saw the Chelmsford Chieftains head airside to face the Slough Jets, reeling from their midweek defeat to the Solent Devils and making a good start to this tie, the first of a double-header between the two. The home side took the lead on just 46 seconds when Seb Moore assisted Jack Goodchild for 1-0. The Jets killed off a lingering penalty in the 6th minute before the visitors equalised with a goal from Alan Lack, assisted by Cam Bartlett on 10:36. A few minutes later, Chieftains turned the game around when Cam Bartlett went unassisted for 2-1 on 13:42. However, the Jets hit back quickly when Christian Moore went unassisted on 15:51. On 18 flat, the Jets took a bench penalty for too many men, and on the power play, the home side managed to pick the pockets of their visitors and take the lead when Jack Goodchild went unassisted to make it 3-2 on 18:38 short-handed goal. Into the second, and Alan Lack took an early cross-checking penalty, which the Chieftains killed off, but he sat down again on 31:22 for charging, and in the resulting power play, Jacob Minter assisted Christian Moore for his second to make it 4-2 on 32:46 power play goal. The Chieftains clawed their way back when Lack and Porter assisted Cam Bartlett for his second on 36:27, and despite having a late power play from a Minter delay of game penalty, the visitors couldn't find the leveller. Into the third, and they did find it when Maltsev assisted Ollie Baldock for 4-4 on 41:51, but the game, as it had been doing, ebbed and flowed back in favour of the home side when Christian Moore completed his hat-trick, assisted by Hemmings Mayer on 45:28 to make it 5-4. Shortly after, Holliker and Goodchild laid on for Seb Moore to make it 6-4 on 47:57, and after Alan Lack sat for his third penalty of the game, this one for slashing on 54:23, the Jets compounded the Chieftains' misery when Jacob Minter made it 7-4 on 55-10 power play goal. That's how it stayed. Man of the match performances for McGibbon and Baldock, and all back to Chelmsford for Sunday night. Sunday night then saw the return to the Riverside for the Chieftains and the Jets, and the first period was very tight, no quarter asked or given, until the game exploded on 13:33 when the Chieftains thought they'd taken the lead. However, goalie interference was called, and probably rightly so for me. There was a definite contact on the keeper, and you'd certainly not want it to stand if it was scored against your team. However, the Chieftains did take the lead a few minutes later when good work from Baldock and Barnes-Garner left the puck rebounding off McGibbon, and Lee Jameson in the slot fired it past the floundering netty for 1-0 on 17:15. Into the second, the home side came out with a singular mindset to control the period, and that they did. Starting when Baldock fed Porter down the left, and he cut the puck across the circles for Halden Barnes-Garner to tuck home from the slot for 2-0 on 24:37. Straight from the restart, the Chieftains extended their lead when Jameson released Damon Porter on the odd man, and McGibbon blinked first as Porter tucked the puck neatly past him for 3-0 on 25:03. Slough called timeout, and although Chieftains bossed the remainder of the period, including a tilt between Grant Bartlett and Lewis English, it remained 3-0. Into the third, and the Jets had an early power play chance when Dan Hitching sat for 2 for hooking, but the home side killed it off, and upon returning to full strength extended their lead again when Grant Bartlett poked forward to Sasha Maltsev, who went through one-on-one, drew McGibbon out and slotted past him for 4-0 on 45:11. Shortly after that, great defensive work by Lack fed the puck to Cam Bartlett, who released Grant Bartlett over the blue line into the right circle and smashed home top corner for 5-0 on 47:51. As the Chieftains pushed again, they found themselves on the penalty kill when Lack sat for 2 for roughing, quickly followed by Jameson for holding, and in the 5-on-3, the Holy Trinity struck, robbing Lauday of a well-deserved shutout. Seb and Christian Moore fed Jack Goodchild, who finished well for 5-1 on 50:29 power play goal. The game continued to be a bit spiky, and the penalties continued as Ty Cathcart sat for 2 for a cynical trip on Baldock, and in the resulting power play, Russell and Baldock assisted Sasha Maltsev for a close-range finish for his second to make it 6-1 on 57:44 power play goal. On 58:18, Rayner sat for 2 for Boarding, and in the resulting power play, Seb Moore pulled one back for the Jets on 59:08 power play goal. A game apiece in this double-header, both will be frustrated at the game they lost, but thrilled with the game they won, keeping the pressure on the league leaders Streatham, where we head to next. The Oxford City Stars head to the high road as the league leaders return for 2024, and they made a good start against their visitors, who aren't having the best of times, still trying to get their roster to click. Streatham welcomed back team captain Ryan Watt, and on 4:04 he was awarded a penalty shot and duly slotted past Miller for 1-0. The Redhawks pushed again, and after a series of rebounds, including the puck coming off both posts, Josh Ely-Newman, back from suspension, made it 2-0, assisted by Ben Ely-Newman and Miles on 5:56. A tight period aside from the penalty shot and the rebound. Perhaps Oxford were looking to put the cat amongst the pigeons on this Sunday night in South London, but as the second got underway, the home side expressed their dominance, and after killing a bench penalty, they made it 3-0 when Skokan and Painter assisted JJ Pitchley on 24:15. 4-0 when Painter and Josh Ely-Newman assisted Ethan Lane on 26:26, and a few minutes later it was 5 when Burnett and Martin assisted Ziggy Beasley to finish just from the right of the slot, 31:34. The Redhawks weren't done there either, as Painter grabbed his third assist along with Pitchley and Ethan Lane to grab his second goal of the game on 33:08 for 6-0. After a short delay for a repair to the bench wall, the home side pushed further ahead when returning captain Ryan Watt got his second of the night, assisted by Painter on 35:55. Into the third, and the Stars were struggling to maintain any sort of offensive pressure, and if not for Miller, could have found themselves even further behind. The home side did, however, add to their tally to make it 8 when Ziggy Beasley got his second goal on 44:57, assisted by Josh Ely-Newman and Jared Lane. Shortly after, it was 9 when Briggs and Toombs assisted Russell Martin on 46:27, and Toombs got in on the act as well on 47:24 with a top corner finish from close range for 10-0. As the game was winding to a close, some physical play saw both sides take penalties, but it wasn't until 58:46 when the away side broke Danny Milton's heart when Williams and Bundock assisted Aaron Moody to make it 10-1. Watt and Stevens with the Man of the Match awards. Another double weekend for Oxford, travelling to Slough and hosting the Chieftains as they tried to get some points on the board. After the game, Streatham Redhawks player coach Ben Painter, a great game for him with 4 assists, gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Yeah, we went into the new year with a single header weekend against Oxford, just one game on the Sunday at home, and yeah, it's I wasn't really sure what to expect, to be honest. Going into that game, Oxford are a team that have had a far more positive sort of performances as of late. Obviously had a bit of a shake up there with coaching, which sometimes just shakes up the whole team. So yeah, they've had some good performances lately, and you never really know what Oxford team is going to turn up and what you're going to get. So it's difficult to difficult to sort of judge how the game was going to go. I mean, we had nearly 3 weeks off, which is always hard to get your feet back under you and find your game again. But we had a skate Thursday, and I was really pleased with the intensity and the work rate of the boys. Everyone seemed excited to be back, so I think that helped. And we went into this game, and I wanted us to be on the front foot right from the start. I wanted us taking the game to them in our own building. It was busy crowd, and it was good to sort of take control of that game early on and really dominate possession from start to finish. Really, and I think really like in a game like that, it's quite easy to get away from the little things, especially when the score starts to get ramped up a little bit. On past teams I've played for, guys have got a bit selfish maybe and looking for points and things like that, but we haven't had any of that this year. It's been refreshing to see that all the boys are sort of buying into playing the right way, no matter what the situation is, and we maintain them good habits. And yeah, I was pleased with the performance, and the boys really did sort of buy into how we want to play, and hopefully we can continue through January the way we went through December. We're really starting to find our mojo a little bit, and it's good to see sort of our performances are starting to get really consistent now. So yeah, it was good to get started, and yeah, we look forward to going and playing a double header against Invicta next weekend. It should be a real good weekend of hockey.
The final game of the weekend was a guaranteed barn burner as the Solent Devils, with 4 from 4 so far this week, headed across to Kent to face the Invicta Dynamos, themselves looking for a winning weekend. The game started at a frantic pace, and the home side took an early lead when O'Neill and Laschek assisted Tom Saw for 1-0 on 1:37. On 2:33, Lillis took 2 for cross-checking, and Solent hit back immediately when Murray assisted Mark Pitts for 1-1 on 2:52, power play goal. The early turnaround was then completed when Necrovicius assisted Dan Lackey to make it 2-1 on 3:13. However, the home side hit back when Saw and Bell assisted Stano Laschek to make it 2-2 on 6:12. After that crazy start to the period, it seemed to settle and both sides found a rhythm. Into the second, and the pace returned to the game, and it was flowing until 33:20 when Laschek turned provider again for Ruskin Springer Hughes to make it 3-2. However, the Devils weren't going down without a fight and equalised again with the first goal reversal as Pitts assisted Murray for 3-3 on 39:45. Into the third, and a bench penalty for Solent for too many men on 48:33 gave the Moes a man advantage, and they took it when Bronyman and Springer Hughes assisted Tom Saw for his second for 4-3 on 49 flat. The game continued to be tight with chances at both ends, but it was the Devils who struck when Perella Fox assisted Dan Lackey for his second on 57:20 to make it 4-4. Into overtime we went, and after the Moes went close, a break by Osman saw him brought down, but he missed the resulting penalty shot. After 5 it remained 4-4, so it went to penalties. The goalies without doubt having the best of the shootout as both sides take 10 penalties. The winning one for Solent coming from Drew Campbell after he scored and Taylor stopped Mads Thune. An incredibly dramatic game down at the stables after a 3-point weekend. Dynamo's head coach Carl Lennon gave his thoughts to ZPG.
So our weekend started in Oxford, fully expecting, I guess, a reaction from them after our last performance there just before Christmas. We were 7-0 victors, shutting them out in their rink, which, of course, I'm sure sat on them nicely over the break. And within 14 seconds, we found out just exactly what the game was going to be about. They put one on the scoreboard immediately, and a back and forth match basically ensued. We had a pretty slow start in the first period. We went 2-0 down very quickly, and thankfully 2 goals from Sawsey managed to pull that back. And after the first period break, we knew that we could get the result if we just sort of kept our noses in front. And like I said earlier, it was pretty much a back and forth game, pretty scrappy across the board. But I guess with both teams not having games over the Christmas period, that was to be expected. And ultimately we're happy that we managed to get the win and close out that result. Oxford is never an easy place to go to. I think I said before Christmas that we've always historically struggled there, and there were a few hairy moments at the end, but ultimately we managed to get the job done, so I was very happy with that. And on Sunday we faced Solent, a different proposition altogether, a team that we've not had any success with this season so far, and it was most definitely the closest game that we've had with them. We tied 3 periods. That says everything, I guess. And I think ultimately we were a little disappointed that we sort of passed up the leads that we had in the second and third period. And at vital times we could have really seen ourselves as victors, but we just made a few unforced errors that handed Solent the initiative and brought them back into the game. So that ultimately was a frustration. Moving into OT, we were good, I thought. We managed the game quite well. We had more scoring chances than they did in that period. And we just couldn't find that killer touch that would, secure the win for ourselves. So it was a shootout, and my first as a coach to experience, at least. And again, a lot of the players probably their first experience of that in a league fixture, and that's a lottery, right? So we hoped that we could be, the one that got the extra point as a result of that, and we weren't, unfortunately. I think both teams shot 9 or 10 against each netminder, and Solent ended up with the extra point. So, like I said, a disappointment in that way, but I guess 3 points across the weekend we can't be unhappy with. I think that's 16 out of our last 18 points available to us, so we're pretty happy about that. We now dust ourselves down after that loss in the shootout and move forward to next weekend. We've got a very tough weekend ahead of ourselves. We've got Streatham in the cup and in the league across one weekend, so a very difficult proposition. We know that their form has improved over recent weeks. We've been watching from afar, and we expect that they'll come fully prepared and ready to play us after some, I guess, disappointing performances against us in the early season. So, week of good preparation for us, and look forward to getting into the games with them, and I wish you all a happy New Year.
And after an incredible 6-point week, 2 road wins, player coach Alex Murray gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Yeah, obviously delighted with this week for us. I think coming into the start of the 2024, it was important for us to start off on the right foot. And I think having the 3 games on the bounce with the Wednesday rescheduled game with Slough was always going to be a difficult one, with guys coming from work, finishing late and arriving either during warm-up or, as the national anthem were playing, we had some guys still getting kit up. So I think it was a bit of a free hit there against Slough, and the guys actually played really well. Slough themselves played well. I think Aaron in goal had a great game, and Ozzy popped up with some really important goals. And I think it would be fair. I think Slough would fairly say that we've been pretty even and competitive this year, and we deserve to take at least one. I'd maybe say more myself, but I'm slightly biased. But really happy with that result Wednesday, and then Saturday we took on MK at home, and they came and played really well. They were really positive in their forecheck and really aggressive and physical, and we were missing quite a few guys. We picked up a few injuries from Wednesday, a couple of players unavailable, but that's no excuse. We were well matched for most of that game, and eventually, we got a bit further ahead and held on and took the win there. And then after picking up both of those 2 results, we knew that Sunday was really important in Invicta, and even without 4 of our top 10, 5 of our top 10 in the lineup, the guys showed some great resilience. Lots of players stepped up and had great games. I thought Aaron in net played absolutely fantastic, and to get us to a shootout, and Drew and Luke, come up with some important shootout goals, and Aaron made a great save at the end there to get us the win. I think that clean sweeps us for Invicta and puts us in a really, really good place now for the league, and it doesn't get any easier. I think our schedule the next month or two sees us playing the likes of Streatham and Chelmsford regularly, and some double headers now will start creeping in. So a real big test for our club. I'm excited to see what it can bring.
Wow, what an incredible weekend of league action. And after all of that, we have to pick a player of the week. I guess it can only really be one man.
Hi, it's Justin Wong, Kenny Wu from the Muddy Ducks, presenting Zero Pucks Given Britton Division Player of the Week.
This week's player of the week then, an incredible 6-point week, scoring 4 goals, nailing 2 assists, notching up his 700th career point in the process, and despite missing a game-winning penalty shot, this week's player of the week is Solent Devils' Steve Osman.
And Mary on my back, all this cash ain't made my jeans sack. We gon' hit the trap, see me flex, you wanna beef, man. Baby, I'll be back, I'll be trapping by the seaside. Smoking on exotic, and it therefore ain't no free fight. Put down till I can't look down.
Steve Osman, player of the week. Fantastic week for the Solent Devils. Now then, we are going to get to this chat that I've been promising with Erin Rose. We've finally got it done. We tried to sit down video-wise. Technology just was not letting it happen. So unfortunately, if you're on YouTube, you're just going to see a still picture for a little bit. But so pleased to be joined on the podcast by the Raiders physio, Erin Rose, who spearheaded the Adams Angels initiative. How you doing this evening, mate? You all right?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you so much for joining me. We've been trying to get
No,
this done
thanks for having me on.
trying to get this done for a little bit of time now, haven't we? So after obviously the tragic death of Adam Johnson up in Sheffield at the end of October, you as an ice hockey physio would have, I'm sure, sympathised with the people that were there on the night and having to deal with that. So did the idea come from that thought?
No, it really didn't. So the idea, I was a little bit bored in a hotel room, oddly, in Austria. My son was out on a training camp with NHA. So initially, my idea spurred from a therapy directory. So, I think all medics around the country sympathise with those guys that had to deal with that. It was absolutely shocking. I personally know 2 of the individuals involved. So initially, my main thought was, well, what about those teams that don't have anyone? What do you do? So I started a therapy directory where I started contacting all the teams just to try and get cover, and I put a shout out on therapy pages for guys willing to come and work in British hockey. So we filled quite a few roles within sort of 48 hours. D-side Dragons were one of the first. We managed to get my friend Robin Krebin in there. They know them guys really well, so that got lined up. And then from there, I think I saw a campaign. It might have been from, Bristol. Bristol Pitbulls were doing a campaign for Bleak Hits, I think. So then I came up with this idea of how cool it would be if I could get some for us guys in the National League, because that's the league I work with, Raiders. So I set up a Just Giving page, put a shout out on social media, and the rest was kind of history, really. I had a good friend literally call me within about 4 hours, or she texted me actually saying, look, what do you want? What sort of figure? And I went, well, I don't know. And I just, spun a really spazzy figure out in the air that was quite high, thinking, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, we'll go for it. She then rung me about 4 hours later and said, I've got you your money. And I was quite stunned, really. And then it turned out a lot more than I asked for, to be honest. A hell of a lot more. So that enabled us to do all of the national teams and all of the women. So then I thought, well, we're off on a flying start. Let's see how we can push it. I'd love every team to have a kit. And then the donations kept coming in and the sponsors kept coming in. Lots of people were telling me to name my campaigns, to call it Erin's Angels, because it was my idea, which I initially did. I got a bit of a kickback off one individual saying it wasn't all about me, which I took on board. And I'm like, okay, well, fair enough. I didn't really want to name it or anything to do with Adam because obviously it's still quite raw. So then we came up with Adam's Angels, simply because it's in memory of Adam, and the Angels are the sponsors that have obviously come to the call to help make this mission possible. So the ethos is on game day, Adam and his team of Angels will be on your bench. So that really is how it happened. We've raised enough money now that I think it's going to be about 170 kits. Wow. Are going to be going out. Yeah, we've got another 112 have gone, and then we've got the juniors going out with Team England and Team Scotland. Hockey Station came in and sponsored Team GB, so they used all the money from their net guards to help with this campaign. So big shout out to them. And then the big sponsors that we had, Rockstone, so Lou Capps, James Potter. We had Stacey Akers, JH Catering, they're a commercial catering company. Becky Philpott, she's from Legends Bar and Grill, Legends of Eltham. So check them out if you really like your American food. It's amazing. Stevenson's Mercedes, they're clients of mine. So Lou, Connor and Steve. Mike Clancy from Clancy's Goalie Clinic. We had so many coming in, I'm trying to remember. We had a really lovely company, one of the Leeds fans, Nicola Matthews. I wanted to put little like business cards in with each kit with Adam's Angel stuff on it. So they helped print these kit, like, I don't know, cards that have gone out. So we had, I think they've run us off about 400, I think. It was something insane. So 200 have been used and utilised, and then we've got more going down in the pipeline. But she works for a company called the Hague Group. So they're not on social media, so I couldn't really tag them that much. But yeah, that was done by them. So yeah, it's been pretty nuts, really, when you look at it, of what was achieved. But as I said, it wouldn't have been possible without the sponsors and the general hockey family that I think them alone raised $3,000 just over. So
yeah,
it was pretty amazing.
You can never really underestimate the hockey family and everything they do.
Can't indeed. They're a special breed of people, I have to say, and it's beautiful to be part of sometimes. So yeah, it's a unique and amazing sport, and I think unless you work in it or you're involved in it, you don't quite appreciate it. So yeah, it was pretty something special.
Yeah. So you've now supplied catastrophic bleed kits to every team in the National League. The one.
Yeah. So we've pretty much done. Yeah, we've done every team in the National League, National 1 North and South, National 2 North and South, the Scottish National League, the Paras. We've done the Elite League. We've also done the Women's Elite League, Women's National 1, Women's National 2. One kit's going to be going down to the Ozone. We've got the GB Ice Crushers. They're going to be getting a kit. We've got 43 junior clubs. They're going out and getting kits. We've had 7 go to Team GB. That went to Dr. Matt Robbins last week, or they did. And then on top of that, we've also got 4 going to Team Scotland and 8 going to Team England.
Excellent stuff. You can't really argue with the effort that you've put in. As you said, I know you didn't want it to be all about you, but someone had to kind of get that initiative out.
Well, someone had to spearhead it, and I suppose it's the joys of ADHD. You just once you get your bit between your teeth, you want the mission done. So that's part of my brain work.
Well, a massive congratulations to you and for the rest of the team that helped you for getting it done and getting it out there. I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure I know everyone appreciates it, and I know they hope they just don't have to use it.
No, I really hope no one has to use it, I have to say. But yeah, so the kits are phenomenal. They are public access bleed control kits. We used a charity called the Daniel Baird Foundation, and their supply is called Turtle Defibrillate Tablets. So these guys have been sending these out. I know there was a little bit of something was raised about, obviously, the concerns around them, that they weren't suitable for anyone else but healthcare professionals, but that's absolutely wrong. £5 from every single kit has actually gone to help the Daniel Baird Foundation, and Dr. Lynn Baird is the person that invented these kits. So if people want to research more about them, please check out the Daniel Baird Foundation as well, because we've also been able to support them, and they've been really, really great with our campaign too.
Excellent stuff. Well, what we'll do, we'll leave that there, because I just wanted to get this out there about the great work that Adam's Angels has done. But you're an incredibly busy person, and we'll try and nail you down and get a good sort of 20 minutes, half an hour, and chat about it.
We will do. Thank you.
Nice one. Cheers. A massive thank you to Erin Rose for joining me on the podcast. It was so good to finally get that chat done and get that news out there about all the incredible work that Adam's Angels has done since its inception. And a massive congratulations to Erin and all the other sponsors and fundraisers that have been involved in that project. Fixtures for the coming weekend then. All 8 teams are in action. The Saturday sees the City Stars travel to the Slough Jets for retro nights, and those green jerseys are out again. 6:30 face-off at the Hangar. And the first of a double header as the Streatham Redhawks host the Invicta Dynamos for a 5:30 face-off on the High Road. Sunday then sees that return as the Redhawks head to the stables for a 5:45 face-off at Invicta. The Thunderdome will see the Slough Jets face the MK Thunder in a 6:45 face-off from Planet Ice Milton Keynes. And the Chieftains make the trip to the Oxpens to face the City Stars And finally, the Solent Devils, buzzing from their 6-point week, will head to the Sapphire to face the swashbuckling Buccaneers. Thank you to everybody for listening. A massive Happy New Year to you all. Welcome back. We've got some great content coming up in the next few weeks and some exciting news about the podcast coming as well. So make sure you follow on all the social medias, subscribe on all the listening platforms and YouTube. Check out the ZPG merch store via the link tree on the socials. And of course, don't forget to check out hockeyartclothing.co.uk and get your 10% discount off everything site-wide using the code ZP10. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.